But for major events, it's all done in writing, either by email or by memos. Generally, if it's a major event that affects several departments, it's done by group emails. So it's all department heads that are emailed by the governing body or by the town manager, city manager. So with everything in writing, everybody's notified at the same time, everybody can respond appropriately, and it's all recorded. That's important for two reasons. One is so that there's a history of what needs to be done, what was said, what was promised, and that's internally through the departments, through the governing body. But it's also important for transparency for the taxpayers. As most people know, there are 91A laws, right to know laws, and having these emails and communication in writing is a good way to show the taxpayers what was being done, what is being done, and how it was handled. So communication is important by all means for governing bodies, for departments, for the taxpayers.
Again, being new in town, partly why I went to the select board was I've been to select boards in all the different places that I've lived. I've been involved, but it was very helpful for me to understand how a town works. And what I benefited the most from is continuity and consistency. So in going twice a month to the select board, and with having Greg there, and he would give a report, and having Joe there, he would give a report. The fire department would come and give a report. Greg was there. If I had a road question, I could ask him. If I had a question about my road, I could ask him. I could talk to Joe, during the meeting, after the meeting. The select board can attest that there's been many topics that I've either brought up or asked questions about. So it's been a great opportunity for me. Very, very, I don't know if it's scheduling or what, but in general, there's about 5 consistent taxpayers that come to the select board. But it's a great place to get any questions answered. So I really support using that as a forum that you can depend on to see the people and hear from the people that are responsible for what's happening in the town.
I also agree with all of them. The communication should be very important to all departments. And as far as the daily process of the clerk's positions, whether it's paperwork, telephone calls, emails, it all should come together at the end of the day and should be settled. And that's basically how I run my business. You can have a chaos mess, or you can just have a mess. And in my opinion, that moving forward to modernize that communication, there's absolutely ways to do that. Emails are great, yes, group emails are great, Zooms are great. Everything that Rick had said is great. I think that if I was elected, I think if any of these gentlemen were elected, that's one of their main goals is to be transparent to the taxpayers so that if they have a question, if you have a need to look at a document, that it's readily available for you, not come back later, fill out a form, or even if there's a concern in town that was brought up in a selectmen's meeting, it should be answered then. And if you didn't attend that meeting, you should be able to go online, look at the minutes, and not see that it's a draft months and months later. And that, it has to stop.
Natalie Mills. I have 2 questions that have to do with bringing money back into this town. My first question is Mr. Scribner, you were talking about bringing some liveliness to Hill. What are all the selectmen's opinion on bringing revenue to the town? Do you have any ideas? And is your plan to try to find ways to bring revenue to the town? That's my first question. My next question is I'm aware that there's numerous houses that have been vacant for many years. I believe by law, the town can take possession of these houses after 3 years. If I'm wrong, please somebody correct me. But what is your plan for these homes when you become selectmen? Because right now, a lot of houses that are sitting that the town can take possession of can be resold and also bring revenue, well, it'll bring taxes back to the town and relieve the tax burden for everybody else. So those are my two questions. The first one is, how do you plan to bring revenue, if you want to bring revenue into this town? And also, what is your plan for these houses that have been sitting for numerous years?
Sure. Do you want to answer it?
As far as vacant houses go, as long as the taxes are paid on, the town can't take it. If their taxes are behind, I totally agree that they need to either be put on some sort of payment plan to get them up to date and take care of them. If the house is in bad enough shape that it's a problem issue, I know we have a trailer over in the trailer park that has the roof is caved in, and they've been trying to get it torn down, and it's been a big circle trying to get this thing torn down. They got kids going in there, and somebody's going to get hurt, and it shouldn't take somebody getting hurt to take care of that problem. There's other houses in town that people own, they pay the bills on, and if they're vacant, they're vacant. As long as they're safe and not being used as a flop house or a drug house, not much you can do about it. As far as bringing revenue into town, I think we need some businesses, and I'm not sure how to do that. I don't have a plan per se, but I think some businesses would definitely help, and they would have less impact on our school and our emergency services, but still bring tax revenue into the town.
So I just want to clarify, I believe, I don't know how often it is, I think it's every year, Shelley will probably clarify for me, how often selectmen have to sign off on these houses that don't pay taxes. So I'm sorry, I'll clarify. What is your plan for houses that have not paid taxes in over 3 years that you have the ability to take possession of?
If the house is available to be taken, something needs to be done, and the proper steps. There's a process you have to go through, obviously, to obtain that property, and then go through the process of selling it or putting it up for sale. And I agree totally that there's some houses around town that should have been taken a while ago. I know there've been other people have talked about this, and there's houses that are being left to just, well, whatever, just let them go. The town doesn't want it. I heard that at one point from a employee of the town. Well, we don't want that house, so we're not going to take it. I don't agree with that at all.
I agree with Harold on most of the points he made about the taking of a house. So the problem is, on some properties, there are great liability issues, and the town would assume liability that may be greater in cost than the value of the property. So you have to think hard. Do you want to take that property and assume that liability? There's also the issue of taking somebody's property, and that's a very tough decision to make, and I've been in that position many times. Do we take this person's property? Whether it's vacant or they're living in it, it's still somebody's property. Do you want to take that property? But the process, anyway, to go through to take a property is through tax deeding, and there's a process for that. For bringing in revenue, that's an issue that that's an ongoing issue with every municipality, every town. Every town's looking for more revenue. The larger towns obviously have a commercial and an industrial tax base that they can rely on. We don't really have that. We have a small commercial strip. So in order to bring in revenue, we've got to find businesses that would want to operate, or companies that would want to operate a business in the small commercial strip that we have. There aren't a lot of businesses that would want to build in Hill because, well, we had a gas station that went under, the general store, it was closed for a short time, that's open again. So it's hard to find businesses that would want to come into Hill. What we would need to do is revise our zoning laws to allow for more commercial space and more commercial potential.
Shelley, do you know the number of homes behind for this year in their taxes?
I haven't started the tax meeting, it's very few, I want to say 6 or less perhaps.
Okay, do you know the dollar value that represents in tax bills?
Off the top of my head, no.
Is it potentially
It's fairly significant, but
$30,000, $40,000,
let's say 100.
$100,000?
It's just a guess though.
Okay, so there's only so many taxpayers in this town, and someone has to pay for that $100,000. So, yeah, it's something that you can't just float year to year. There was a house this past year that supposedly had made it to the point of being auctioned, but then lawyers came in for the homeowner, and the process went in an entirely different direction. So I think once you hit, you can't predict what's going to happen once the lawyers and the courts get involved. But I do agree that there should be a plan for time and a process for someone that doesn't pay their property taxes, and a plan of action for it, including if it gets to the point of whatever legal steps are needed to sell the house and pay the taxes back and pay the person the other part of the profit. In terms of revenue, if you think about it, the boomers are all driving all over the country, especially foliage season. How many campers you see, brand new campers, or campers towing cars from all over the country, and they're all looking for somewhere to go. And they love history.